Who wrote the book of John? The identity of the author of the book of John is not known inside the novella itself. Tradition says that the Apostle John wrote it, but this is not sure. Is it possible that the man who wrote the book is Lazarus, the disciple whom Jesus loved? Lazarus was a wealthy man from Bethany, and he may have been a close relative of Jesus. We know that he was wealthy because he was buried in a rock-cut tomb. Further, he had two sisters, Martha and Mary. But Lazarus was sick unto death. Urgently, Lazarus' sisters sent a message to Jesus telling him that his close friend was very sick. They knew about Jesus' healing power and miracles. They wanted him to come quickly. John 11:3 says, Then his sisters sent to Jesus, saying, Lord, behold, he whom you love is sick. Jesus delayed in coming to Bethany deliberately. During this delay, Lazarus died. Jesus, knowing that Lazarus died, said this to his disciples. John 11:11. Our friend Lazarus sleeps, but I go so that I may awaken him out of sleep. Lazarus' dead body was set in a rock-cut burial tomb, per the Jewish custom. After a 2-year period of corruption, Lazarus' bones would be moved to a bone box ossuary. Upon raising Lazarus from the tomb, Jesus knew he had set his own crucifixion in motion. Consider that after 4 days in the grave, Jesus resurrected Lazarus with a word of faith. John 11:43. Lazarus, come forth! During that supper, the anonymous author is not named. He is called the disciple whom Jesus loved. This is a term of close friendship. This is the man Peter asked who would betray Jesus during the supper. John 13:23. But there was one of his disciples leaning upon Jesus' bosom, the one whom Jesus loved. At the cross, Jesus identified this man, who did not run away out of fear like all the other disciples. John 10:26. Then when Jesus saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing by, he said to his mother, Woman, behold your son. On Resurrection Day, Mary spoke her dismay at the disappearance of Jesus' body to this unnamed disciple and Peter. John 20:2. Then Mary ran and came to Simon Peter and to the other disciple whom Jesus loved, and said to them, They have taken away the Lord out of the tomb. We do not know where they have laid him. This unnamed man outran Peter to the tomb, and he was the first one into it, past the stone that had been rolled away. So, John 24 says, They both ran together, and the other disciple outran Peter and came first to the tomb. Finally, at the Sea of Galilee, many days after the resurrection, the unnamed disciple identified Jesus' voice as the one calling to them for, Children, do you have any meat? He was calling for fish. Casting the net on the right side of the ship, the disciples got a huge harvest of fish, great fish that came to the net. After hearing it was Jesus' voice, Peter cast himself into the water and pulled the net full of great fish to shore. Then that disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, It is the Lord. Then hearing that it was the Lord, Simon Peter girded on his coat, for he was naked, and he cast himself into the sea. John 21:7. After dining on the fish with Jesus, Jesus prophesied to Peter his death. Peter, looking at the unnamed disciple, insisted that Jesus now prophesy about this man's death. Jesus' answer was quite surprising. John 21, verses 20-22. Then Peter, turning around, saw the disciple whom Jesus loved following, the one who also leaned on his breast at supper, and said, Lord, who is he who betrays you? Seeing him, Peter said to Jesus, Lord, and what about this one? Jesus said to him, If I desire that he remain until I come, what is that to you? You follow me. Now the question is, was this unnamed disciple Lazarus, unafraid of death, having already been raised from the dead in Bethany? Notice, the testimony of this unnamed man who told all this is the writer of the Gospel of John. John 21:24. This is the disciple who testifies of these things and wrote these things, and we know that his testimony is true.